Look, many years ago, I don't want to say exactly how long because that is going to date me on something that could live on eternally in the internet. But many years ago, when I was first starting out in my first managerial role right after college, I had a manager and a mentor that actually said at that point, perception is reality. And it's something that has stuck with me even decades later as I have grown and as I have transitioned through my own journey of entrepreneurship and being a founder in now three different businesses. But I don't think I fully understood back then exactly what it was that he was talking about. But later, as I was working on building the first brand that I had a real key role in, I came to discover that it really is true that perception is reality and it can actually help you to build the business to where you want to go in the future and to become that future version of yourself that can serve both you and your clients in a really unique and profound way. Look, the reality is people do judge you instantly. They have more access to you than they ever have before via social media and online communities. And I would just say, even out in the real world, in how they see you and how they perceive you and the brand of what you're building is going to have a direct impact on their reception of what it is that you can do for them in the future. Look, and the other part of this is that, we only have a limited amount of control over things that happen to us, and being able to control your branding and what you're putting out into the world as who you are and who you serve is one of those things that you have control over. So today we're going to talk about how the perception and the reception of what it is that you're putting out there can impact you and your business in positive ways and help you transition and transform from technician into that CEO role that you crave. My name is Christy, and I help founders like you transition out of the role of technician and doer of all the things into the role of CEO and leader of their business. I help them live in only the work that they love and to build the businesses that they've always dreamed about. I do that by helping them get clear on what I call the $1 million plus destinations. That is my unique framework for helping you achieve the goals that you have in the future. And I do it through the pathway of what I call the 4 Ps. So your people, your processes, your priorities, and your performance. I help you determine what's really important and what's going to move the needle on your business, and then help you build that engine to help you get there. So why is perception so important? Well, you guys know we're getting inundated constantly between social media, and now AI is starting to take a bigger role in what it is that everybody puts out there. And it's very easy to actually, copy someone else and put their content out as your own. And that perception that others have of the content that they put out that might have been yours in the first place, that has an impact on you. It has an impact on that person. And so perception is becoming more and more prominent in what it is that we need to focus on and in our forward looking strategies. The human brain takes about 0.5 seconds or so to really validate whether they should trust you or not trust you going forward. And how you build your brand and the content that you put out, that is going to either signal leadership or it's going to signal, a unique differentiator in the marketplace. It's going to tell your potential prospects and leads and those people that are going to have access to you, who you are and what you stand for. So what you put out is becoming super important, and how you put it out there is becoming even more important as you move forward. You need to be able to clearly signal who it is that you want to work with and make sure that they have the perception that you can provide the services that they need. And sometimes that means making yourself look a little bigger than you are, making yourself look like the future version of yourself that you see servicing them now in order to get you to that place. Look, messy, it really signals that you're amateur, that maybe you are the doer of all the things, that you're not necessarily a credible resource. But when you start to put together very clear branding, your images are aligned and polished, then you start to signal to the right people that you are available and can help them in the way that you want to. But as I say all this, I also say, make sure you don't hide who you really are. Your authenticity is just as important as building that really polished and well-received brand as you go forward. I don't lie or hide that I am living and traveling the country in my RV as I put stuff out there, but I do have a full team that actually works with me and for me. And so I make sure that I share a lot of my adventures so that I can maintain that authenticity. But I also want to give the perception that I can actually help people to get to the place that they want to go. And I want to make sure that my brand reflects that. So you should have the same vision in mind for your business as you're putting content out into the marketplace, and that you're sharing exactly what it is that you do. we started PPS, Product Protection Solutions. I guess it's been, nearly a decade ago now. We actually went through a process where we developed out all of our branding. We created some unique imagery, and we actually copied another company that at one point was doing over $1 billion in sales in an international and global market in order to create a lot of what we were going to put out in the marketplace to get the customers that we wanted to work with. We were working with million and billion dollar big box retailers, and we needed to make sure that they felt that we could service them and provide the customer service, the products, and the comfort level to them that we could support in the way that they needed. That meant that our little, at that point, 5-man team that had a tiny little office and warehouse in Swansboro, North Carolina, had to give the perception that we were a lot larger that we were. And we were super fortunate that we were able to win some really large accounts right off the bat. And when we brought some of these people into, again, our very tiny office and warehouse space here in Swansboro, North Carolina, they always expressed how surprised they were at exactly how small we were in the for the fact that we were actually able to service them better than a lot of the big box retailers. But we wouldn't have even gotten the chance had they understood how small we were in the first place. And I'm just going to tell you that the powerhouse combination of creating the perception that you are a lot bigger than you are, providing the client experience and the customer experience that only a small organization can do is a powerhouse combination that I have seen win over and over and over again. And the first time I actually saw this story play out, or this strategy play out, was actually with a company called Rigmarole Outdoors. When I started with the company, they had just actually moved out of the founder's garage and into a very rundown small warehouse space in Morehead City, North Carolina. And the owner said he needed some help. And so I did, at that point, I'd lost my job in New York. I had moved back to North Carolina, and I didn't really know what my next steps forward were going to be. So I decided to go and help him out as he wanted to grow and scale the brand that he had. And he went and he actually hired a brand strategist they actually worked for a very large fitness brand that is well known in the country and globally even today, to do all of his branding for the product line that he was actually building in the hunting industry. And what I saw from here was that he was able to actually turned this into a global expansion in a globally recognized brand that produced hundreds and hundreds of thousands of followers in a very short time period. And so that was the first time, maybe even despite, my previous managers messaging to me, that I really started to understand, hey, how you are perceived in the marketplace, it has a direct impact on your ability to sell your product and your services. And that if you do have the capability of making yourself seem a lot larger than you are, and to really reflect what the future that you want to build with your company, it can have a direct impact on your present and on your ability to get there. And so between these two experiences and the hundreds of others that I've had with the companies that I've worked with, I have really found that this can be a winning combination as you move forward. Dr. Benjamin Hardy, in several of his books, addresses this principle directly, that you have to start to act like your future self, and you have to start to build your business to be the future business before you can actually become that person, or you can actually build that business. Your identity is going to change your behaviors. So when you start to view yourself from the lens that you're operating from this place of what you desire for the future, you can actually start to produce the results that will actually get you down that path to create that person that you want to be. And so in this case, hopefully it is transitioning out of technician and into the role of CEO, of building yourself from this small organization where you're the doer of all the things and servicing all of your clients, into something much larger that you have grown into the future. Your brand and how you're putting yourself out there into the world, it is a commitment device. It is how you're showing the world that this is what you're committed to. You are committing to being this company in the future. And really, because of the platforms that we have access today and what we're doing, this is your public declaration of that commitment. And when you start to put that out there, then you're actually committing to yourself. You're telling yourself, hey, this is the thing that I want in the future. And when you do that, the pathways forward become crystal clear. You can only really pursue 1 to 2 very small pathways forward to get to where it is that you want to go. He always talks about how big goals are going to force you to be super clear in what it is that you want to do, and they're going to help you prioritize what's actually important to move the needle. So all of that starts with the perception that you're creating now, with making sure that you're putting out there the content and the version of yourself that you want to be in the future. So, how do we start to share this perception of ourselves and this future image of ourselves out in the marketplace? How do we start to build that impact and create that impact in others? How do we start to help them visualize that we are a lot bigger than we are and create that perception with them that's going to help us to develop into our future self? Well, the very first thing you need to do is make sure that you are developing out clean and consistent branding. Look, it doesn't have to be something expensive, but make sure it is super clean and it's reflective of who you are and what it is that you're wanting to build. The second part, make sure it's consistent. That consistency is going to give you authority. When you're switching brands every year, every 6 months, when you're changing up the coloring, when you're changing up the imaging, the font, that signals that you are practicing what I like to call spaghetti noodle strategies. You're just trying to figure out and see what works. And you don't yet have the confidence to stick to one clear, authoritative brand. Look, you need to signal to others that what you are building, it has the foundation and the roots of being an actual real company that can provide the services that you are helping others with. And that starts with maintaining that consistency. I need to know every time that I see an image is from you because again, it takes only half a second to build that trust or break that trust with someone. And the very first element of that piece of trust is to be able to recognize you when I see your content come across any of my feeds, when I see you show up in YouTube. I need to know that it's you right off the bat. So you need to build that clean and consistent branding and make sure that you don't lose that at any point as you start to put that out into the world. Step number two, build your signature framework and put a name to it. This is one of the things I often work with most of my clients on is that you've got a proven method of serving others. You've got something foundational. That is why you started this business in the first place. And as you started to serve your clients, you've probably iterated upon those services and you've probably now got an exact process that you follow with everybody that you onboard. Now, put a name to it and state the fact that it's actually a proven process. You know it gets real results. You need to share that with people. And you need to make sure that whenever they see that tagline, that name show up in the marketplace, they know it's coming from you. If you have watched any of my YouTube videos or any of my content yet, or you've seen me on Instagram, then you know I have the $1 million+ destinations as one of my key frameworks. And the roadmap that we build on the back end is from the 4 Ps. So, and I already talked about it in this video once. This is something I put out at least on a weekly basis so that if anybody in the marketplace is following me, then they know that this is my proven process and it is proven and it has worked with dozens of other clients before I worked with them. Your proven methodology, your proven process of serving your clients, that is going to give you some structure. It's going to give you some legitimacy in the marketplace. If it's proven and you've worked with other clients with it and you've gotten real results and you've actually taken the time to give it a name, then it to many others, it's going to signal that it must be something that actually does work. And it's going to differentiate you in the marketplace. And that is a key driver of success in this market that's starting to become overly saturated with service providers and coaches and other people that are living into the space of, I want to start my own business to have a certain amount of freedom. So give your signature framework a key name and make sure that you start to relay that message and share it out into the world at least once a week. Step number 3, again, we're going to point towards legitimacy and perception. Go ahead and structure your offers and your money model like an actual company. This is going to signal to anybody that wants to work with you that you know what you're doing and you know how to service them. You know exactly what they need at this point to seek to get the transformation that you have promised them. So you can't go in with a random list of a la carte services that they can handpick and then create the scope and you're reinventing the wheel with every single client. No, you have a proven method. You are the authoritative leader here and you can really help them seek out the transformation. You need to make sure that your offers are set up to mirror that you have clear productized services, that you've built out a strategic money model that can reflect the journey that they have to take with you in order to realize that transformation. This is how they're going to know that you are serious. This is how you're going to give them the perception that you really are bigger than they might have thought when they had the initial conversation and that you can do what it is that you're promising. So how do you do that? For a lot of my clients, I recommend starting with a short-term project to kick off their journey with them. This can be a little more palatable, especially if you're not super well known in the marketplace. That it can be a little more palatable for them to accept and agree to kick off with you. You know, they're not committed to a long engagement, a 6, 8, 10, 12-month engagement with somebody that they really don't know yet. That short-term project can really help them to get to know you. And then I would have several different tiers of services or subscriptions that they can subscribe to afterwards. Part of this is about alignment and making sure that what you're offering them does fit them and fit where they're at in their stage of the journey, whether that is an individual or another company that you're servicing. And part of that is that you can make use of some of the techniques and money models that are well known out in the marketplace. I'm a big fan of upsell, downsell opportunities because some people just don't have the budget to commit to a long-term, super expensive, high ticket item in working with you just yet being the operative word. And some people are just really hesitant. And so if you give them that option of after having a conversation and trying to sell them, you give them an option for a downsell opportunity and then upgrade it at some point in the future after they get to know you and trust you a little bit more. That can be a key strategic decision on your part and help them to grow with you as they, again, gain that trust with you over the long term. Step number 4, Hormozi talks about this a lot in a lot of his videos. You've got to provide some proof. You've got to be able to show people that you can get the results that you're claiming to get. So I have a wins column set up in my free community that highlights all of the wins that I've had with many of my clients. I also have other testimonials that I display or when I'm having sales calls or at other key opportunities. You've got to do the same. You've got to provide real results and show real proof that you can get your clients the results that you're promising. So you can get testimonials. You can, have screenshots of, again, like a wins column in your school community. If that's something that you have, you can highlight the before and the after with the permission of any of your clients. And it doesn't have to be a ton of testimonials and proof that you provide, but you do have to have some that you can pull out of your back pocket. Step number 5, create a polished online ecosystem. Not everybody has a website nowadays, but I do recommend that if you have a website or landing page, make sure it matches all of your branding and make sure that it is kept up to date. I think that is part of where we're headed in the future is that you don't necessarily have to have a website to sell. You can sell through these various social media outlets. You can sell through an online community. There are a lot of different platforms, but if you are maintaining a website or a landing page, you need to make sure that it stays up to date and it is cohesive with your brand overall. You need to also make sure that your social media, all of the channels, they do reflect your primary message and the transformation that you can provide. And that, again, the branding is cohesive across all of the different various platforms that are out there. For most of my clients, I only recommend focusing on 1 to 2 channels, picking the ones with the highest ROI for them, because it can be a lot to try and concentrate on all of them and maintain that image. What you don't want to do is have to go in or to share your Instagram sized post on Facebook, because that immediately signals that you don't have anybody handling your social media content. And it shows people that maybe you're not as big as you're saying you are. And so when that perception does not align with what you're actually putting out there, that's going to immediately erode the trust of the people that you're trying to reach. So if you are going to go across various social media platforms, you need to make sure that you are resizing those images. This includes YouTube. A lot of us edit our own videos. I will openly admit that I have started out editing most of my own videos. And so, but you need to make sure that if what you're putting out there, again, it sticks with the branding that you're sharing. It doesn't mean that you have to be inauthentic about it. I do mine in my bedroom of my RV. I don't hide exactly what it is that I'm doing, but I do try and make sure that they maintain a little bit more of an upscale polished image. Any visuals that you put out, they need to be reflective of the brand that you're putting out there. Don't go posting. You can share a lot about your personal life, but don't go posting anything that you wouldn't want your clients to see on any of your social media channels that they might have access to. How you put things out into the world is how they are going to perceive you. So the moment that you put anything out that doesn't align with the brand that you're trying to build, that is the moment that you could potentially erode trust with your future clients. So make sure that everything matches and that as you're sharing it, it does actually reflect your brand messaging. Step number 6, show up as yourself, but speak like the future CEO version of yourself. A lot of my clients, when they show up, they lack a certain amount of confidence in what it is that they're doing. So that's one of the very first things that we work on and work with them. And that doesn't just include in social media. This includes how you show up for your team. You need to make sure that you are showing up with certainty. You're showing up with confidence, that you transmit that you are the actual leader of this company and that you are confident in the services that you provide. Once you start to do that, people will come on board with what it is that you're building. And that includes both your team and your clients. So I need you to start showing up as that future CEO version of yourself right now, because the truth is, You are the CEO of your company, even if it's just you. So you've got to start to show up like that person, and you've got to start to show up on social media. You've got to start to show up on any of the podcasts that you might do. You've got to start to show up like that in any team meetings and client meetings, in any sales conversations that you're having. Make sure that you're showing the world exactly who it is that you want to become in the future. Step number 7, align your operations to the future company that you're trying to build. You need to go ahead and start to systemize your back end. You need to go ahead and start to determine what tools you're going to use to provide your services. You need to go ahead and start to map out your client journey and make sure that your client experience is reflective of your proven process, that it is your actual differentiator in the marketplace. You need to make sure that your delivery systems match what it is that you're promising to give. You need to go ahead and start setting those tools up now, because very soon you're going to have to start to leverage your time and bring in additional people to help you to actually become the CEO and to grow this thing to where it is that you want to go in the future. So if you start setting up your back end now, your clients are going to have that particular experience that you're trying to create at this present moment. And then you're also going to be set up to leverage your time in the future, to grow your team, and to elevate yourself again to that future version that you're trying to build. So step number 7, go ahead, make sure that you are starting to align your operations to match what it is that you're building right now in the current state of your business. Step number 8, make the goals so big that there's only one clear path forward. When I did this for myself and I did this for my business, I eliminated about 80% of what it was that I was doing on the back end that was wasting all of my time, that there was no ROI on. When I do this for my clients, the same thing happens. When we start to really hone in on what it is that is working, when we start to really hone in on what it is that works and we start to set those really giant goals, everything else gets moved out of the way, and we create a very clear path to move forward to get them to the goals that they set. You need to do the same within your business. Stop playing small and thinking about those small little, I just want to grow 10% next quarter. I just want to do this to just hire the one VA. No, set your goals really big. What is it that you really want to achieve? What are your $1 million plus destinations? What are the things that really scare you? And how can we actually get there? This is going to help you to stop doing all those things that are actually wasting your time. It's going to help you to stop practicing the spaghetti noodle strategies that actually negatively impact our momentum and our ability to scale and grow. This is going to help us to see, hey, look, if I want to get to this place, like there really is only one way to get there. So set those big goals. Make sure you're keeping in mind that future version of yourself, and make sure that you are constantly going back to reflect on what it is that you're planning to do this week, this month, this quarter, so that you're not deviating from where it is that you said you actually wanted to go. Aside from the benefits of a very clear path forward and a clear direction on how to reach the future version of yourself, once you start to do this and you start to put out in the marketplace that you are a lot larger than you actually are, then your clients and those people that want to work with you are going to be willing to pay a much higher price when they see that you can get real results, when they start to realize you have a proven framework, when they start to see that your brand is cohesive and that it actually reflects the transformation that you promise. They're going to be willing to pay a higher price for your services. So you can keep practicing the spaghetti noodle strategies. You can keep flip-flopping. You can keep putting out the social media content that doesn't really make sense with the brand image that you're trying to build, but people aren't going to pay as much to work with you, and they're not going to be as likely to sign. So that's just really the primary benefit to what you're doing here, because when you can start to raise your prices, then you can make more money with less work. When you can start to sign more clients and you can do it much easier than you have been in the past, that's actually going to increase your margins because it's a much more efficient process. So your CAC's going to go down and gross margins are going to go up, and that's going to significantly impact your bottom line. That's how much you take home at the end of the day. So make sure that what you're putting out there is actually reflective, again, of what it is that you're trying to build. Look, perception, it creates belief both in yourself and in others. As you start to outwardly portray the image of what it is that you're trying to build for the future, you're going to start to develop a self-confidence that might not have existed before. And this transition from technician to CEO, from doer of all the things into the one that's actually strategically planning for the future, it is messy, it is beautiful, it is so hard, but it is so exciting at the same time. It's going to be one of the best and most taxing journeys that you have ever taken in your life. But this perception piece of it is a huge part of that journey, and it's a huge part of building the confidence in yourself that you can actually make it happen. You can actually reach that huge goal that you're setting for yourself for the future. Your branding and the messaging that you're putting out there, that is an integral piece of how others are going to perceive you. And it's even an integral piece of how you're perceiving yourself. If you start to put that out there more and more and more confidently, again, you're going to reach that future destination for yourself much more easily. And you're going to start to get more excited about what it is that you're building. So keep that in mind as you start to make this shift. Again, I know how hard it is, or how hard it can be to go from technician to CEO, but that journey is so worth it in the end. So if you're ready to take this journey, if you're ready to make that shift from technician and doer of all the things into CEO and the strategic planner for the future, if you're ready to start building that business that you've always dreamed about having, then join my free school community. There are a ton of guides and resources there. If you want to make that journey just a little bit shorter, I do offer a 30-day sprint to get crystal clear on what it is that you're trying to build. And I offer 3 spots every single month, only 3. So reach out and let's see if you can grab one of those spots. Finally, if you want to see more content like this, and I release new videos every single week, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I will see you in the future.